Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived an old woman who lived simply but was loved by everyone. She was not only kind-hearted, but also known for always keeping a gentle smile on her face, no matter what life brought her way. Villagers often came to her for comfort, advice, or simply to hear the peace in her voice. One day, a young man curiously asked her, "Why are you always happy? Haven't you ever felt sad when something unfortunate happened?" The old woman smiled warmly and said, "Life has its ups and downs. Some days are good, some are bad. But I've learned that happiness doesn't depend on circumstances. It comes from the way we choose to see things." Her answer made the young man fall into deep thought. He asked again, "You say happiness comes from within, but how can one be happy when everything is going wrong?" The old woman nodded and began to tell her own story. "When I was young, I had a husband and children. We were poor, but our home was full of laughter. Then one day, my husband fell seriously ill. We had no money for treatment, and he passed away. That was the saddest day of my life," she said. "I thought I would never be happy again." Looking at the young man, she continued softly, "I was deeply broken, unsure if I could go on. But then I realized that staying in grief would only make me lose what I still had. My children still needed their mother, and I had to keep living." From that moment, she began to shift her perspective. She no longer let loss consume her heart, but instead learned to cherish the small things. "Every morning when I wake up," she said, "I tell myself, today is a new day, and surely there's something to smile about." Maybe it was the sunlight, a small flower blooming on her porch, or a warm greeting from a neighbor. They were small things, but for her, they were enough to see beauty in life and believe that happiness still remained. The young man asked again, "But what if something truly terrible happens? How can you still stay joyful?"
The old woman smiled, her eyes filled with life experience. "It's not easy, my dear, but I always remind myself, everything passes. Joy and sorrow, they're both temporary." Instead of drowning in sorrow, she chose to focus on what she still had, her health, her friends, and simply the gift of being alive. "That alone," she said, "is already a precious blessing." She gently continued, "You see, happiness is a choice. We can choose to focus on sorrow and pain, or we can choose to look for the good, no matter how small." She admitted that it wasn't always easy, but it was possible. "There are days that feel especially heavy," she said, "but I still try to find a spark, a bird's song, a smile, or simply the calm of having another day to live." The young man fell silent, then thanked her with grateful eyes. From that day forward, he chose to live differently. He learned to find joy in simple things, and slowly his life became lighter and more peaceful, just as the old woman had said. From then on, he followed the old woman's advice. Even when life got difficult, he learned to seek happiness in the smallest things. A cool breeze, a kind smile, or a quiet morning. Little by little, he became more optimistic and no longer let troubles control his mind. Her story spread throughout the village, and people began to realize happiness isn't about what happens to us, but how we choose to live each day. Thanks to the old woman's simple but profound wisdom, the entire village gradually changed. People started seeing life with more positivity, no longer complaining or sinking into sadness during hardship. They came to understand that happiness doesn't mean having everything, but knowing how to be grateful for what we already have. Because of that, the village became warmer and more joyful than ever. And all of it began with one humble old woman, the one who taught them the secret to happiness, to choose joy from within. Her story left a lasting lesson. Happiness isn't found in wealth, status, or outside circumstances. Life will always present difficulties, pain, and dark days, but what truly matters is how we face them. She taught that no matter how hard life becomes, we can still find light in the little things: a sunrise, a smile, the presence of someone we love. When we're thankful for what we have and choose to focus on the good, our hearts grow lighter. Happiness isn't something we wait for in the future. It's something we can create each day from within. As she once said, "Life may not be perfect, but a positive heart will always find a reason to smile." From her simple words, the villagers slowly changed their way of living. They no longer searched for happiness in grand or distant things, but found it in everyday moments. Even when life wasn't easy, they kept smiling because they understood. Happiness doesn't come from circumstances, but from within. That old woman didn't just make her own life beautiful. She spread her light to the entire village, which became a place filled with peace and love. The old woman left behind a powerful but simple message. Happiness is a choice. No matter how hard, painful, or challenging life becomes, we can always find joy if we choose to see the positive and be grateful for what we have. Everyone has the power to choose how they feel, to choose sadness or to choose peace. Life is an imperfect journey, but if we nurture a kind and positive heart, if we treasure each little moment, then happiness will always be near. It all begins with how we choose to see life each day.